Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch, and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to episode 167 of the Resilient Retail Game Plan. Hi everyone, I'm your host Catherine Erdley, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group and mastermind for product businesses. Head over to resilientretailclub.com to find out more. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Caroline Gogolak. Caroline is the founder and CEO of Saint Art, a street style brand based in New York City. Caroline explains how her background in ballet and her knowledge of activewear led her to create Saint Art, a brand that offers a unique combination of romantic and sporty everyday wear. We discuss lots of topics in this episode, from how you do test and learn effectively and how you raise money for funding, for investment, and so much more. It's a fascinating insight into a fast growth brand with over 100 retail partners worldwide, and I just know you're going to love it. Caroline, thank you so much for joining me today. Would you like to start off by introducing yourself and Saint Art?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Catherine. My name is Caroline Gogolak, and I'm the founder and CEO of Saint Art. And Saint Art is a street style brand based in New York City. And we offer a handful of everyday items, really inspired by street style and everyday wear clothing. Our product really exemplifies the juxtaposition of not being overly feminine, but then not being overly masculine. We really love to create something that's both romantic and sporty, and that could take you throughout your day, whether it's going to the office, going around town, or going out to dinner.
I love that. I love the idea of a combination of romantic and sporty. It's not a combination we often think of. So you've had a really interesting path to launching Saint Art. I've been reading about your background and your history. Can you please share some of how you got here?
Of course. So I've been in the fashion industry for most of my career, and I started off my career actually in finance, and then I saw an opportunity. This was back in around 2010, 2011. When it came to activewear, and I co-founded Carbon 38, which still is around, a multi-brand retailer. And then we also have our own brand, our own line, and raised capital from venture angel. And then Foot Locker came in 2017 and made a strategic investment. At that point, I really wanted to go from a founder to an operator, and I simultaneously met the former CEO of SoulCycle. I wanted to kind of bring my knowledge when it came to activewear and the merchandising of it, and really work at a business that was brick and mortar focused. I was excited to kind of go from that online direct to consumer world to something that had a handful of locations. And I was at SoulCycle for 3.5 years, grew their retail business, oversaw their retail P&L. And it was an exciting time pre-COVID. We had close to 100 locations globally, and retail was an exciting piece of the brand, just because the SoulCycle brand extended just beyond being in the studio and in the bike, and was there for most of COVID. And at which point I had a little bit of time to really think through what I wanted to do. I knew I always wanted to, it's funny, I've been in activewear, but don't really have an affinity towards it. It's just a category that I know very well.
You have a background as a ballet dancer, is that correct?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I would say that the active piece I just saw as more of an opportunity in terms of the market and white space. And then I sort of took my learnings when it came to building Saint Art. I knew that there was this idea of people becoming more comfortable, more casual. I saw the influence of streetwear when it came to the women's apparel space and women's wear market. And when you look at a kind of like a traditional shopping neighborhood, wherever you are, a lot of the more mega brands for women were just very feminine, just didn't
Hmm.
really address kind of the cadence of where I think sportswear and dressing were going. I know that apparel is a very crowded space, so I wouldn't argue that that's not the case, but we really do see an opportunity in easy everyday pieces that are still novel and fun and have that emotion to fashion and emotion to trend, which is something that's so hard to nail. But when you do find those trends and can really maximize them, it can be a great builder for the brand while creating product that is effortless, that's easy, that's not overly romantic. And the reasons I say that is we're not going to do a floral print.
Right.
I mean, if we are, we'll do it in our own brand tones. We're not going to do ruffles or pink in a way that is that's maybe what you would see in other contemporary brands.
Hmm.
And so I really saw that there was this white space. And then that, in terms of the brand coupled with the price point, we wanted to create something that was more accessible on the contemporary fashion pricing scale. And that to us, the affordability piece was something that I felt was missing, but not having it be disposable in any way. So not on the fast fashion scale.
So it was more like a elevated everyday rather than luxury. Is that kind of where you were heading?
Right. So you can buy a pair of pants on our site for $215, which is kind of our entry price point,
Mhm.
$250. And yeah, and we have a range. We've got a range of prices, but I would say that we're trying to hit that more accessible luxury space.
Yeah, sure. So it's a considered purchase, but it's not completely inaccessible. Do you feel like you were addressing a need that you felt when you were shopping? Is it almost like, we often create things that we want in our lives? Was it something that you found a personal frustration or more a general gap in the market overall?
I would say that it's certainly a personal frustration. I find that, and I think when we first started, the idea of trend and fashion was something that only really very expensive or more luxury brands were doing. And then there was the players like Zara that were certainly more disposable. But I think where the brand has certainly gone is this idea of really elevated wardrobe builders that are these staples that you really, I mean, I can't really find these anywhere other than some brands that I think just don't really do it as elevated and as considered as maybe we would do. So some of our programs that have been with the brand really since the very beginning. We run a very luxury feeling charmeuse, which is like a satin blend,
Mhm.
and it's a heavy weight. It's not doesn't feel like you're wearing a slip or underwear, and we do that in a kind of like a cargo pant inspired pant. We do it in a slip dress, and then we're bringing that fabric across we have a bunch of different silhouettes now and colorways,
Mhm.
and it's machine washable. So we try to make everything non dry clean where you can, throw it in the washing machine, but it's not, we definitely are not a athleisure brand or playing in
Right.
space at all. It's definitely feels like it's fashion, it's clothing, it's apparel, but we don't play with any active fabrics or anything like that. But this fabric is, it's beautiful and it's been our bestseller. We recently launched denim, which was super exciting. My creative director was one of the basically built and was a key builder and creative leader at J Brand. And so the pants have been a natural extension of some of our bestsellers. And it's really hard to find a pair of pants for women that are cool and comfortable and don't feel like you're wearing office attire
Right.
that's kind of dated, especially in this post-COVID world. And so we launched ultra soft tensile blend denim. I was really nervous about launching this. I was like, it's a new category. I don't know if it's going to read that well. It's there's so many people that do denim. Anything that's a traditional silhouette, we bring and do it our own way. So
Mhm.
instead of being a traditional 5 pocket jean, it's a trouser silhouette. So there's welt pockets on the back. We have our Nessa pant, which is the body it's built in with our traditional wide belt loops. It feels like you're wearing a sweatpant, but you don't feel like you can lounge around your house in it. I mean, obviously you can and it's comfortable, but you feel really elevated when you're wearing it. And that's the
Yeah.
textile and the fabric. And that sold out in less than 2 weeks. It was one of our largest buys. And it was really exciting to see that these wardrobe builders are really kind of becoming a staple for the brand. Merino, we have an ultra fine gauge merino knitwear program that's, complementing the denim and the charmeuse. And then we've had our tuxedos, which is a cool evening wear thing for women to wear. And it's in a Japanese brush twill with a slight two-way stretch. So I think the consideration in the garments is comfort is really important and wearability is
Yeah.
really important. The photography, the silhouettes, the design is really centered around this idea of street style and not making it be all about the attributes of comfort. Like that's just a natural extension of the brand.
I got it. Yeah. So it sounds like polished comfort, right? So it feels good to wear, but you don't feel like you're in loungewear. You feel like you're in something that's elevated, but you absolutely are going to really enjoy wearing it and feel, that freedom of movement and that enjoyment of not being restricted. It sounds like a really winning combination. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about detail about your supply chain. So you're obviously very passionate about the fabrications that you use, and you've obviously put a lot of thought into these specific key fabrications as the building blocks for the business. I know that you go beyond that with your supply chain, and that one of the things that you were thinking about when you started the business was how to address issues of overproduction and waste in the fashion industry. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you do things differently with your supply chain?
Yeah, absolutely. So we originally launched as a direct to consumer business. We are now in over 100 specialty stores worldwide. And we weren't sure what was going to work. It's not like we started the brand and said, okay, we really believe in this t-shirt or this blazer or whatever it might be. And there's so many direct to consumer businesses that kind of have this single hero product that they market, they launch, and they do it in multiple colorways. Like we really believe in trend and growing the brand as a trend that would make sense in terms of our brand ethos, aesthetic, and vision. And that's really hard to do with direct to consumer. Like you have to sort of take these large bets and hope that things sell. And then ultimately, no one's perfect and no brand is perfect. And you might be left with a bunch of unwanted inventory, really, low net margins when it comes to the profitability because of discounts. And what we've done and what we originally started with was 100% manufacturing in a 30-day timeline. So we would take a concept, do these sort of mini collections, and we would produce it domestically, and we would sit on a lot of the raw materials so that we could quickly manufacture. Now that the business is scaled, we manufacture overseas in Asia and in Europe based on where our raw materials are. And that's really product that is tried and true, that is doing, X amount in volume on direct to consumer and then with our wholesale partners. And then to keep the newness and freshness going and to constantly be able to test, we still run on that 30-day cycle when it comes to trend and pieces that we think might be missing in the assortment that we want to test into. So those parts keep the brand fresh and relevant and keep us kind of out of our comfort zone. I think if you get too stuck on things that will sell, you're never thinking of the next thing. And so we really challenge ourselves to do that. I also think from a creative perspective, our creative director, it allows him to see the shows that are on the runways right now and say, okay, I know these shows are for this next season, but we can bring these trends to market right now.
Right now. Mm-hmm.
And so that keeps us relevant, that keeps us engaged with our core customers, and keeps that repeat and retention rate in a place that they're excited to see the new arrivals and the new deliveries. And so it's the combination of those two things that are helping us scale in terms of this next stage.
And so can I just clarify then? So you use the domestic production in 30 days for either super trend led that you just need to get now, or just new concepts or anything that you're kind of trialing. And then once you've got a good read on it, do you then take the call to say, right, we're going to move this production for the next round?
Yes, overseas.
And then if for some things, is it just literally like, it's just going to come in once because it's going to be of the moment. But if it has a super good reaction, then some other things you may put into the kind of main collection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think that our main collection, this domestic manufacturing and this quick turn production program that we have allows us to to read and then react to it. And so, yes, I mean, it helps us have an idea and a view in terms of what we do want to bring into and scale and larger units and more colorways even when we manufacture it overseas.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I always say that if you have no sales data, so this is based on, years, I've spent years and years forecasting. That was one of my main roles when I worked in corporate retailers. And if you've got no sales data, you've got a 50-50 chance of correctly forecasting. But if you've got as little as 2 weeks sales data, you've got an 80% chance of correctly forecasting. So it sounds, and I often espouse the benefits of test and learn, which is exactly what you're doing. So I'm really great to hear you say that. And do you find then that you just get a much better read on when you do then go to do the manufacturing overseas, that you've got a much better chance of correctly forecasting your demand?
Yes. I would say that 100%. I mean, you nailed it. We can properly forecast demand. I also think it creates this scarcity model, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your inventory is really capped by your sales, and that can be a good thing, right? Especially for a brand that's trying to really manage profitability and cash flow. But from the customer perspective, there is this like, get it now, or you might never get it. And so if you're fully stocked and just core product all the time, the urgency isn't really there. Psychology of it plays into that demand piece that you were saying too.
No, totally. I totally get that. Can I just ask a little bit about your move into retail? Because you said you very much started out with it as a direct-to-consumer brand in mind. What was the point, the kind of pivot point where you decided to go for the retail aspect? Because it's fantastic. You've grown it to 100 retail partners worldwide. But was there a particular moment where you suddenly thought, do you know what? I think we need a retail element.
Yeah, I think we always wanted to do wholesale. I think in this day and age, I think from where our customer sits, it's important to have both channels. I mean, I know that myself personally, there's a trust thing when it comes to just direct to consumer brands. And I want to see it in other locations to sort of get over that idea of trust. And is the brand right? And is it supported by people who also stand for the product? So that was certainly one thing. I also think from a volume perspective, wholesale really helps us with margins. It helps us really grow from a financial perspective. It also helps us capitalize on a lot of the units so that we can manufacture that core programs and those core things overseas. So it's certainly helped us scale in a way that we weren't really predicting. We weren't really sure what the read would be, but it's been well received by some amazing stores and some amazing partners. I think that it only helps amplify the direct-to-consumer piece.
Yeah, for sure. That's always one of the things I always say about being in wholesale is that you get that brand awareness. You're getting in front of people that might not otherwise have seen the brand, and they get into touch and feel it and then fall in love with it. And then that just helps with that brand affinity. So you mentioned the kind of relationships that you've built, and I just wanted to touch on community a little bit, because obviously SoulCycle in particular is so deeply entrenched in the community and the people who love the brand. Was that something that, based on your background, you had in mind with Saint Art about creating a community around the brand?
Yeah, look, I think that right now we are really centered on product first. I think that when SoulCycle first launched, and to get to those 100 locations, their product had to be really good. You had to go in and know that you were getting your $35 worth, or however much classes are in your location for an amazing ride and a great sweat and whatever you were looking for in your workout. So when it comes to fashion and St. Art, we're product first. Like we want to make sure that the quality is really there, that we're developing and creating a style that isn't something that you can find in the market. So we've really invested in that product first mindset. And I think that you have to get that right before you think about offline events or influencer marketing or whatever it is. Product isn't like the product should speak for itself.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's like if your product's right and your customer loves it, then everything else naturally amplifies because you create that word of mouth effect by people loving what you do and people saying, "Oh, that looks great. Where's it from?"
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's much like other work that you need to do other than creating amazing product and the photography to support it, right? Like you have to sell if you're a direct to consumer brand, it's not like you have to do crazy photo shoots or anything, but your photo shoots have to speak to the product that you're selling. And so it's those two things that go hand in hand.
For sure. I'd love to just finally, before we wrap things up, I'd love to explore the question of raising investment. I know you've had a lot of experience of this between Carbon 38 and also in St. Art. I know this is a massive topic. You could probably do a whole podcast episode just on this. But is there a top tip or something that you feel like you would like to leave our listeners with when it comes to investment?
Yeah, look, I could certainly speak for a while on this because I definitely have an opinion and a point of view. Look, I think that the corrections that have happened in the market should have happened a long time ago. And as a consumer business, and quite frankly, anyone who's building a company, you have to have financials that support really compelling unit economics at a low basis. So what I mean by that is, what is the minimum amount of revenue that you have to do with the right expense structure to support something that is going to become profitable or that is profitable? And then ultimately, you're generating free cash flow. I think that it's important. Profitability is something that is incredibly important. And you can't just be a fashion brand that's doing runway shows and a bunch of, I don't know, like crazy brand marketing things that don't really add up to the numbers. Like ultimately you have to sell units and you have to understand how many units you need to sell to generate a profit. And so we've raised a small round and we are very close to hitting those profitability metrics and goals. And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on not only selling a brand, but the unit economics to get there. And so I think it's just really important that people start small and grow slowly to get to those points, and understanding what your marketing structure needs to be in order to sell those units to get to profitability. It might not be that crazy or big. It could be something very simple. So I think getting down to those basics, it's been really important, and a great correction when it comes to the marketplace. And there's some really exciting brands that are doing some wonderful things that maybe people haven't really heard about, but they will, who really understand their unit economics in a very compelling manner.
I couldn't agree more. It feels like this whole notion of just kind of people running at a loss, and if they just throw enough cash at it, then eventually it'll turn a profit. It just seems very outdated now, and it's about can you generate profit right from the get-go?
Yep.
Or as soon as possible. Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our chat. I'd love to hear what's next for St. Art.
So as I was talking about, that we're product first and we listen to what product our customers are really resonating towards. And it's really building off of those elevated wardrobe builders. I think that trend is always going to be a part of our repertoire, but what we're seeing is our denim is absolutely amazing. I can't get my hands on the denim because it's already sold out. So it's like that. I think they're really exciting. It's things that I want to wear every day.
Yeah.
And we're doing it in a way that's different, but really speaks to the cadence of our everyday lives.
Amazing. Fantastic. So surely they couldn't put a piece of denim aside for you, or has it just been so hot it's all gone?
I want the customers to have it. So I didn't buy my my denim, my Nessa denim pants. But next we're getting another order in. So I'll get to make sure to reserve my size then.
That's true dedication. Well, thank you so much, Caroline. I'm going to put all of the links to the website, to your Instagram, to all of the details in our show notes so people can go check you out. But thanks again for being here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for joining me. It was a fabulous episode. Do go check out Saint Art. They have a beautiful collection of wardrobe builders, just like Caroline said. So do go take a look. Thank you so much for listening in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate every single one of the listeners. Thank you so much. I was very excited recently to hit over 100,000 downloads for the podcast, which is amazing. And it's all thanks to you. If you have a minute to rate and review the podcast in Apple Podcasts, that makes a huge difference in getting the podcast out to more people. And if you have a moment to follow or subscribe to the podcast, you'll be the first to know about every new episode which comes out each Thursday. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.